I really don't want to keep coming across like a broken record every single week, but god damn, I'm remembering more and more every single episode why I love this series so much. That utmost attention to atmosphere, world building, vibes, and just making sure that the pacing of everything that's going on conveys that to the absolute best. Hello everybody, I am Phenom Sage, and welcome back to another Made in Abyss Season 2, The Golden City of the Scorching Sun episode review. Today we will be talking about Episode 3, Village of the Hollows. And right away, I really just want to praise everything that this season has been doing with its pacing. And yeah, you can say that it's the obvious choice. They're being very meticulous about only adapting this one arc for this entire season. It's not like there's much more to adapt afterwards anyways, but I still can't say enough what a beautiful decision it was to focus this season on this one arc and how well they're doing at keeping things moving along, keeping the pace going, and yet it still feels like we're spending so much time in these environments and settings where you can really get a feel for what's going on in these places and really engross yourself without constantly being pushed forward to the next place and the next place. In the manga, I remember it was frustrating how slow this arc would move forward because at the time, you were only getting like one chapter every 4 to 5 months, and that's not even an exaggeration. But now I can really appreciate what that slow pace was doing for the story, and now that slow pace is being told on a more consistent and regular basis, and now how well it brings you into this strange and otherworldly place and really lets you feel the culture, brings the setting alive, and makes you feel everything that's going on. I'm going to make a very bold and audacious statement, but as far as world building and exploring settings and really letting the atmosphere set into the viewer in this franchise, I really am starting to believe that this is the best that Made in Abyss has ever been with it. Even compared to Season 1 sections like the first layer or the third and fourth layer, I've always felt like Made in Abyss's biggest flaw, at least for myself, is that we've never really gotten to explore and get the vibe of those beginning layers to their fullest. I really feel like there was just so much more you could have done in those areas, so many more plot lines and points of interest you could explore. Hell, we wouldn't have even gotten much of anything for the third layer if it wasn't for the anime staff kicking ass and adding really cool original content, and that original content ended up being some of the best content in the first season, in my opinion. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from as far as wanting more from this series as far as its exploration and expansion of the Abyss, and I really do think that this season so far is delivering on that in spades. And with that expansion comes a completely new setting, completely new environment in the Abyss, arguably the most interesting one that we have encountered so far, the Village of the Hollows. And like I just spent a ridiculous amount of time rambling about beforehand, this place is just so goddamn cool. And this episode did a great job of engrossing you in this environment and almost teaching you about how this place works and how everyone is living their lives here. And the biggest one among those that I'd like to focus on is this concept of value. Now, value, as we see in this episode, is basically the driving force of the entire village. It's not only how people buy, sell, and trade with each other, but it's also just essentially the foundation of what you are worth as a living entity in this village. And what we see of it in this episode brings up a lot of questions about how it works and who is actually judging the value that belongs to all of these creatures. On first thought, you would think that there is just some kind of mystical force or overseeing entity that gives an unbiased and objective appraisal of what each individual thing is worth in this location. But the deeper you look at what's going on, and especially how the balancing of value works in this location, it seems to me that value is actually determined by a number of factors and people surrounding the other person in question. For example, in this episode, Mania ends up in a horribly painful situation and nearly dies by the hands of one of these hollow villagers, and because that hollow villager harmed something that had a greater value than its own, a balancing occurs in order to equalize that value that was harmed. However, in the scene itself, it's not when Mania is harmed that the balancing starts, but only after Majikaja asks what its value is, and Rika responds that its value is so high that it can't be determined. Essentially, this village is predicated on the idea that value is determined by those who value it. You could probably assume that things like relationships, experience, talent, etc. all contribute to what your overall value level is, and at the end of the day, it's how you are perceived that affects your value in this village. It also explains why Majikaja would say that human children have a higher value than most things, because in this village, a human child is something that almost all of them desire. And I really want to focus on the act of that balancing that occurs, because it's genuinely really horrifying and unsettling in a way that kind of gives us our first glimpse into what Season 2 is all about, and the fact that they're really not going to be holding back as far as delivering on the horror aspect that Made in Abyss has become known for. And what I really love about that scene, and also just this setting as a whole, is the juxtaposition of how bright and colorful and unassuming this place is, and not just the location, but even the inhabitants themselves. This village is filled with plushy, cute-looking hollows. All of these things are juxtaposed to these really strange and unnerving things that are being told and happening around the group. When this hollow creature is getting all of these things stolen and destroyed, and when its skin and arms are being torn apart and it's just crying and screaming in pain, it's just really honestly overwhelming and hard to watch in a way that I really love that this series never shies away from. And overwhelming is a good word to describe this episode as a whole, at least for myself, because I remember on more than one occasion almost feeling myself welling up at some of the content in this episode. Not just because of an emotional scene or moment, I mean, flashing back to MIDI or the way that they have been continuously beautifully executing these flashback sequences tied to the present will definitely get me emotional, but even beyond that, just the sheer overwhelming presence that this series exudes is just so much sometimes in a way that really makes it feel special. And speaking of being overwhelming, I have to give credit where credit is due. I have to retract criticism when it is no longer valid, and Kevin Penkin, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I doubted you. It's not even like I didn't like the music in episodes 1 and 2. There were good tracks. It was well utilized, like always. It felt like we were using a lot of recycled tracks from season 1. The magic and execution wasn't quite on the gold standard that I expect from Made in Abyss, one of my all-time favorite anime soundtracks, I would like to add. And because of that, I might have had higher standards than maybe I should have, but in this episode, it was a big step in the right direction, and I was a big fan of how the music was utilized in this episode. Like I mentioned before, it really just brings you into this setting so perfectly. It elevates the tone and the mood and the unsettling atmosphere of this village so wonderfully in a way that I really did love the soundtrack in this week's episode, and I hope it keeps getting better and better. There were a lot of little details in this episode that I thought were interesting in the low-key, really important things that they were conveying to the audience. For one, we learned that these hollows are actually a lot different from Nanachi in the fact that they chose to become hollow in this village for the sake of protection and for the sake of gaining a body that matches their desires. And because of that choice, they can no longer leave this village, unlike someone like Nanachi, who became a hollow through different means. But on the topic of those bodies of desire, though, we also learn about Majikaja and his true form, which is apparently just a collection of smells, which he then uses, I assume, to control this mechanical vessel. And that makes me wonder then, if everyone in this village got a body that matched their desires and what they really wanted, I wonder why Majikaja would desire or want this mechanical vessel instead of just using his original body that matched his own desires. I assume it's probably just because he needs it to communicate with people around the village, but maybe there's a little bit more to that, just something to think about. Regardless, I think that mechanical body, again, is more than enough justification for the CG. I still think the CG looks fine. I was not even thinking about it the entire time I watched this episode, so I hope that is just something that more and more people get used to as we go through more and more episodes. Either way though, this Village of Hollows really does inevitably point to one thing, and that is that everyone here at one point in their lives had ambitions of reaching the bottom of the abyss before they came here and essentially gave up on their ambitions. It's not hard to put two and two together that a lot, if not all of these hollows are a part of that original expedition group from the flashback. Even by the end of the episode, we see that the newly introduced Faputa is one and the same with that same outcast tribe girl who went with them. The question at this point really is, what happened to the rest of them? Where are the others? Where's Belaf? Where's Vueko? And what does this Princess of the Hollows want with our group, since you could clearly tell that she intentionally led them to this village in the first place? I guess we'll find out next episode. I was yelling at my screen, no, when the episode ended just because I was getting so into it. I can't describe how much I'm loving this season so far. I can't wait for next week. Join the Discord in the description if you want to chat about this week's episode or whatever else with me and the rest of the community. Let me know in the comments what you thought about everything that went down. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video.